It's the Charger. He's got 600 health, his melee does 10 damage, which can be increased to 40 if you hit all 4 survivors. He can temporarily knock down a whole team. For some reason, his charge also resets completely if he kills the survivor he grabbed, or if he gets knocked back by something. The cooldown on the charge is only like 12 seconds, which is relatively short compared to the other special infected. His charge can carry a survivor far away from their team and set them back. The slap charge combo is broken, 10 for the scratch, 10 for the charge impact, and 15 for the pound. That's 35 damage in the span of seconds. The time it takes a survivor to get up from a charge is the longest compared to other special infected who can grab or stun survivors. Because of this, the spit and charge combo is the best in the game. Even if the charger doesn't pound the survivor, the spit itself will almost always do at least 30 damage because of how long that animation takes. The charger cannot be shoved, and he is harder to headshot than the other special infected, which makes him even tankier.
It's fantastic.
This is all pretty good stuff, but nothing, and I mean nothing, comes close to...
Like, how did you fall for that?
Charging someone off the map is one of the most powerful things in Versus. And unlike the Jockey or Smoker who can only one-shot one survivor, the Charger has the ability to one-shot multiple survivors. Heck, the whole team if you're lucky enough.
Can you shut the f*** up?
Whenever you have the opportunity to death charge, you should always go for it. Killing a survivor not only makes it easier for your special infected to play the game, it also reduces the amount of points the survivors will get for the rest of the chapter. Also, most of the maps in Left 4 Dead 2 have plenty of opportunities for death charges, so it's not a rare occurrence. In fact, it's quite common. But as good as the Charger is, he does have a few weaknesses. Auto shotguns, for example, are a huge counter to you, because whenever you charge, you could still die quick. You see, the bot charger gets damage reduction when he charges. That's why it feels like he can never die. But in Versus, if you miss a charge, a survivor with a shotgun can just...
He died mid-shot.
Heck, they don't even need a shotgun. If everyone just targets you, you'll die. I think the Charger has arguably the worst hit detection issues. There are just so many times where I just slide right off the survivor or just straight up go through him. Even though the Charger isn't perfect, he is still, in my opinion, the strongest special infected in Versus. The death charge alone is enough.
Most of all,
the Charger has the most carry potential. In the hands of a good player, a single charger might be all you need.
Ciao. Anyway, so...
We talked about the best special infected, so now let's talk about the worst. That's right, the Smoker. No other special infected can feel so frustrating to play. The Smoker's tongue is almost a wild card sometimes. So many things can go wrong. The tongue can break, it can bend, or hell, a common infected can get in the way. Even your own teammates can get in the way. When you attempt to grab someone, you get stuck in an animation for a while, which makes you an easy target. Compared to the other 3 special infected who can grab survivors, the Smoker is punished the most for missing. To make matters worse, the Smoker just has so much counterplay against him. The survivors can cut off his tongue with a melee, they can shoot his tongue, they can easily headshot him because, I mean, just look at him, standing up straight, asking to get headshotted. When you start pulling someone, if they react quick enough, they can still kill you while being grabbed. This becomes even easier if the survivor has laser sights on his weapon, so you have to be smart and get behind the survivors or above them. When you do manage to grab someone, the damage output the Smoker does is pitiful. You can go make a sandwich faster than the Smoker can fully kill a survivor from full health. Even his AI counterpart is the worst, because when he grabs a survivor, for some reason the Smoker's health dramatically decreases, allowing him to be one-shotted by an AK-47. This is why it feels like the bot Smokers die quicker than Versus Smokers. In fact, the Smoker can be surprisingly tanky if you don't aim for the head. But do you want to know something funny? Despite being the worst, I can't definitively say that he is a bad special infected, because Smokers can be really useful in certain situations. The biggest one is a point of no return. If you pull someone before they drop, congratulations, you just killed that survivor. In situations like these, the Smoker is very threatening, and he is the only special infected who excels in this specific situation. Sure, the Jockey can also do the same, but he doesn't have the range the Smoker has. The The smoker can also be good in a couple of other situations, like this popular spot in No Mercy. Dragging a survivor down to set them back and cause fall damage is pretty good. You can also drag them off an edge to temporarily encap a survivor, which is useful. You may even be able to drag a survivor to a car alarm. Survivors can be dragged into fire to deal extra damage. You can drag a survivor into the witch. Sometimes you can just drag a survivor to their deaths and just have them hanging until someone shoots you down and the survivor just dies from fall damage somehow. Basically, the best thing the smoker can do is drag a survivor into danger. But pulling survivors is not always consistent because common infected can body block the survivor, which can completely ruin the potential of your attack. Though to be fair, this doesn't happen often. Is the smoker bad?
The answer is yes and no.
Most of the time, I would rather get a different special infected, but when the right opportunity arises, the smoker can be strong, but without those moments, I don't think he is as impactful as the other special infected. And you know what? I wouldn't change a thing about the smoker. Well, on second thought, I would probably allow the tongue to go through infected, but that's all I would do. The smoker doesn't need to be buffed. There will always be the worst of something. You buff the smoker, and a different infected will take its place as the worst. Still, a smoker should not be underestimated. Even though I'm saying he's the worst, the smoker, like every other special infected, can win games. Still F tier though. Out of all of the special infected, the spitter by far has the most damage output. A single spit can deal about 80 damage alone. Even more if you die next to the survivor. The spit you drop stacks with the primary spit, effectively doubling the damage. If you manage to do this on a survivor that is down, you'll get a lot of damage done, which will give your team a good chance at getting that extra plus 25 points. The spitter only has 100 health, which sounds bad, but in my opinion, that isn't really much of a weakness, because most of the time, when you spit, you're basically suiciding, which is fine. The closer you are to the survivor, the higher chance you will land your spit, and you want to be close to them so that your spit on death will also do damage. So only having 100 health makes little difference, unless you try to spit from far away and you get sniped. To me, the biggest weakness the spitter has is the simple fact that she cannot do anything on her own. You need to completely rely on your team in order to do well. If your team is constantly missing, you're never going to have the opportunity to follow up. The best thing you can do is spit in the direction the survivors have to go to stall for time. In some cases though, the spitter can do somewhat well on her own. Spitting on a survivor who is surrounded by infected can deal good damage. Spitting on survivors that are down is always a good idea. Your spit can blow up gas cans. Sometimes it might be a good idea to just solely blow up gas cans just to slow down the survivors. The spit can also be used as area denial to stall for time, though this only works in tight and enclosed areas like the bottom of ladders. That's pretty much it though. A spitter on her own can't really do much. But with the right team, the spitter is a very valuable asset. The best thing she can do is combo with hunters and chargers, preferably chargers, since the survivors take 3 years to get up off the ground. However, the spitter does not combo well with the jockey or the smoker. When the survivors are free from their grabs, they don't have to do any animation that forces them to be stationary. They even get iframes for a second, which gives them plenty of time to get away from the spit. Chargers and hunters force the survivors to get up, which gives your spit time to deal damage. If neither of those infected are present, the spitter once again cannot do much. So she's either the worst infected or one of the most powerful infected. Well, I guess that balances out to a C tier. The jockey is a pretty powerful special infected, I must admit. I mean, his damage output is about as bad as the smoker, but the jockey has the ability to drag survivors wherever he wants, including off an edge. And when you do drag them off an edge, the cooldown for your lunge is only 7 seconds long, which gives you another opportunity to drag another survivor off an edge. It's actually kind of broken that he can do that. You can also drag them into danger, into a death charge, or in some cases, drag them off to their deaths. He also has 325 health. To me, the jockey is very similar to the smoker. They both kind of do the same thing. Grab an isolated survivor and drag them into danger or away from their team. The only difference is that the smoker has range while the jockey has to get close and lunge onto the survivor's head, which can be a little frustrating because rubbing off the survivor's back just feels so good, man. When you grab somebody, you can only take them as far as they can go before going down. One thing the survivors can do is resist your influence. You'll always ride a survivor in the direction you want to go, but it can take a lot longer if that survivor knows what he's doing. When you do down a survivor, you have to wait a whopping 30 seconds. Jesus, man, you're almost better off dying because the respawn time is only 25 seconds. That cooldown is as long as the boomer's vomit cooldown. And speaking of boomers, the jockey combos extremely well with them. When everyone is blinded by the boomer, the jockey can go in and grab an isolated survivor and take him away. It'll be hard for the others to rescue them with the common infected in the way, but even without a boomer, a jockey can still be very effective in a lot of situations. B tier. Hunters have the most mobility and are arguably the most fun special infected to play. He is completely silent if you're standing up, so you can just spawn whenever you want without fear of being detected. You can pounce on survivors from great heights to deal pounce damage. Getting a 25 damage pounce is very difficult, but worth it. When you do pounce on somebody, the damage per second is amazing. 5 damage every half second, and 15 damage to survivors who are down. He is the only special infected who can finish off a downed survivor quickly, except the tank who has a card. The Hunter's scratch is pretty mediocre though, which is a shame since he does 40 damage on expert. While in Versus, he only does like
6.
Talk about a downgrade. Hunters only have 250 health, so you can easily get killed before you even land on your target. And if the survivors have a sniper rifle, well... I mean, the sniper counters all special infected, but the hunter in particular gets screwed over the most.
Reloading!
Dead! Typically, the hunter is the special infected who almost always goes in first because of his high mobility. And speaking of mobility, there are so many ways to leap from place to place. You remember those hunter training maps? These maps really demonstrate the potential of the hunter's mobility. But to be honest, you're better off just spawning from a high place and pouncing a survivor so that your team can follow up. Personally, I love how the hunter plays in Versus. He's fun, effective, and a valuable infected which the game would not be the same without. A tier. Boomers are one of the most important, if not the most important special infected in Versus. The ability to blind the survivors and summon a horde may not sound amazing, but when you vomit on somebody, the chances of your infected teammates landing their attacks increase exponentially. And since the survivors are blind, they'll have no idea what is happening unless they are right next to each other. This ultimately slows down the survivor's progress, which is essential to winning as the infected. The boomer's explosion on death knocks back survivors for a split second, which can do a lot. It can also send gas cans flying, which may help as well. And it can free the charger from pounding someone, which will allow him to charge a different survivor. His vomit can go pretty damn far. I mean, come on, man. How? He wasn't even looking at me. The only situation where boomers are not good are actually during crescendo events. It's still good if you puke on 3 to 4 survivors, but if you only get one person, you are actually helping them, because all of the common infected are just gonna target one survivor now. And you didn't summon a horde either because there already is a horde. But other than that, boomers are essential. To me, the boomer is so valuable that he is the only special infected you should try to stay alive with after vomiting. Of course, you can make use of the boomer's explosion on death and rocket boom right in the survivors' faces, but a boomer who manages to stay alive will guarantee another horde in the next attack. Sure, you have to wait 30 seconds before you can puke again, but 30 seconds is probably the amount of time it'll take for the survivors to clear out the horde and your special infected teammates to spawn. Have you ever noticed just how much easier it is to land attacks on survivors that are distracted? Distractions are your best friend as the infected, which is why boomers are invaluable. They provide that distraction which enables your entire team. But unfortunately, the survivors have a little item called
An ender pearl.
the pipe bomb, which completely counters your vomit. There's nothing you can really do about that. Also, I mentioned that staying alive is something you should do, but in case you haven't noticed, the boomer only has 50 health. A single AK-47 shot can kill you. Still, the boomer is definitely A tier, above the hunter. First of all, the tank is gonna go here for obvious reasons. You only get one tank per chapter unless it's a finale or a chapter that has a guaranteed tank, so the pressure is on if you get selected. The tank is obviously very powerful, but at the same time vulnerable. Don't let that 6000 HP fool you. If every survivor is targeting you, your HP will melt right before your eyes, and before you know it, you just wasted a tank. In most situations, your job as a tank is not to attack the survivors, but to stall. Stalling for your teammates to do damage, or create an opening so that you may go in and start attacking without dying instantly. When you try to stall, a timer will go off, but this can be reset whenever you land a hit. It also stops counting down if you have line of sight of the survivors. Thank God the tank has the ability to throw a rock, because without it, I don't think the tank would be very good. Getting hit by fire is the worst thing in the world, even though you could put yourself out in a few maps. If you don't have that option, fire pretty much puts you on a timer and forces you to attack, even if it's the absolute worst case scenario, which is when the survivors are all at green health and they are out in an open space ready to fight. In this situation, you are just completely helpless and have to fully rely on your team to create an opening. More specifically, a boomer landing their puke. Even for your teammates, it's still difficult because of the open space. But then, there are situations where a tank can just fully solo the entire survivor team. Punchable objects instantly down a survivor on impact, and then the tank can hit them again to finish them off. This, along with death charges, are the most powerful things an infected can do. Also, tanks are perfect during panic events because of distractions. You guessed it. A single punch does 24 damage, hits all 4 survivors at once, and you do 96 damage. One thing that has always been consistent about the tank is his ability to halt the survivors in their tracks. Boomers can slow them down, but the tank makes them stop and
Go back!
which in turn gives your team more opportunities to attack. This alone is a pretty good reason for the tank to be an S tier. However, I don't think he is better than the Charger, but I'll talk about that later. Finally, we have the Witch, and she's shit. 9 times out of 10, she won't do anything. The Witch is simply too squishy. The survivors can crown her or just shoot her in the head with a sniper rifle and gun her down. You can influence the Witch by scratching her, but even if she aggroes onto the survivor, they can still crown her while she is running at them. I mean, holy moly, I've never done that before. As the infected, when the Witch gets activated, it's your job to back her up, but it's almost impossible in some situations because she just dies so fast. You have to react quick to save her. The Witch is even worse on maps where she is wandering because she can't even be scratched to aggro onto a survivor, and she does this screaming animation for a second, which makes it even easier to crown her. The last stand update did buff the Witch a little bit. Before the update, when she was clawing at a survivor who was down, she basically tickled them. Now she does good damage, almost living up to her Left 4 Dead 1 counterpart, but that doesn't matter when the Witch can't even get close enough to down the survivor in the first place. Her pathfinding can be really messed up sometimes. She can run straight to a target with no time wasted, or other times she'll for some reason start climbing on stuff and taking as long as she possibly can to down the survivor. It almost comes down to luck. In very rare situations, witches can actually aggro onto you and not the survivors. I don't know what causes this. I don't know why the witch can even do this. I think jumping on her head while she is chasing a survivor causes it, but don't quote me on that. Witches are D tier, unless we're talking about realism versus, where she is undoubtedly S tier. And that's all of the special infected. Remember, every infected can play a massive role in the game of Versus. Smokers can be as threatening as Chargers, but the truth is that one special infected has more opportunities than the other, along with other benefits. Chargers are so strong that it's a good idea to jump off the map so that you could get him at the start of a chapter. The tank and Charger are both S tier because of their carry potential. Like I said before, in the hands of a good player, ooh boy. Especially the tank with the bunny hopping technique. I mean, that's just straight up not fair. And the windmill combo where you can punch and throw a rock at the same time and then punch again. Minus 72 health. The Charger is above the tank because you get to play as him more. A tank is not even guaranteed to spawn in the chapter, and when he does spawn, it's not a 100% chance that you will get to control him. It could be given to a player who has no idea what he's doing and waste the tank. I guess the same argument can be made with any special infected, but you have a better chance at getting a Charger than a tank. Also, I feel like tanks need to rely on their team more than the Charger does. Smokers or jockeys can set up a death charge, which helps a lot, but you don't really need it in most situations. Unlike the tank, where you practically need your team to assist, unless there is a car you can punch. Finally, I think Chargers have a better chance at killing a survivor than a tank does, because he can spawn at the last moment, whereas the tank doesn't have that element of surprise. You can only surprise the survivors when they are distracted, and guess who causes that distraction? You might disagree with me, but the Charger remains on top as the best special infected in Versus.